So once again, very warm welcome to everyone here, and really good morning from me, from Dorset, where I'm residing this week and coming into this space from. I hope that you're doing well, and I hope you're ready for another step along this journey into a sense of hastening slowly. This combination of dedication to a movement, to a progression, to what we can contribute into the situation, but not rushing in that sense that we're not sensitive, we're not attuned, we're not aligned with what we truly wish to connect with. So hopefully you are already here. We can build on some of those things that we said, and therefore you know who I am and what it is that we're doing here. But just in case you are popping in for this session, the other sessions exist. I believe we've successfully managed to record all of them, and the one that got jumbled up, we've managed to put it together from the two parts that became the recording. So you've got access to those. But in brief, I'm Nathan, insight meditation teacher, mainly with Gaia House, but I also organize and run events with Meditation in Action, Sangha Seva, and probably speak a little bit more about that side of my meditation involvement tomorrow. Hope that will be an inspiring thing to hear about, and good for all of us to recognize these positive actions are coming through meditators as well. Probably things we all agree the world needs: more kindness, more consideration, more love, more peacemaking. And I'll speak a little bit about that tomorrow. Today, what I want to open out from the theme is actually a what would you call it? A complementary view to the common one we may hear in Dharma and meditation circles. So I'll speak a bit about that. We'll have that reflection, and then we'll have about half an hour of relatively silent meditation together. And after that, we'll flow into a period where I'd really love to hear something from you, a reflection, a question, what's going on when you hear these. Really feel invited to reflect back into the space, whatever's helpful. Yeah. And if you'd like that to have a response, please put capital letters question or capital letters reflection. Gives me a sense of what that is. And I'll prioritize the questions as best I can. And I'm not expecting this to be all perfectly clear for you. So don't feel that you're, what would you say, letting anyone down by, putting your views into the space. It's really a contribution, a collaboration. So the contributions from each of us are important there. Okay, so on with the show. I hope this will land well. And I'm not trying to be purposefully antagonistic to, whatever it is that you happen to understand by what we should be doing in relationship to time. But there is a view, we could call it presentism, where, and we adopted that view yesterday, that there's only ever a present moment, here and now, as we were saying, as Ines kind of added in. Yeah, it's that here as well, isn't it? Like the here and the now that feels really important. That view, we actually see, becomes lighter and lighter, lighter and lighter. There's just here. Yeah, it's just here. Let go of the past, let go of the future. And we're just here in this moment. And what you may notice is that here could become really, really small, really, 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 really small, ephemeral, barely here at all. Can't actually even really find it before it's gone. Yeah. And some people even say, psychologically, we're very, very slightly in the past anyway. Yeah, that just happened. For the process of becoming conscious of something, it's gone. So there's quite a bit of the anicca teaching in this. Anicca probably best translated as inconstant. Things are inconstant. Nothing is still. Nothing is rigid. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is actually grabbable, really. When you get closer and closer, impermanent, as a phrase that's often used for anicca, kind of suggests that the things are there, but they're not permanent. What we can really see is it's a dynamic dance of vibrations met in the unfolding moments of this experience. Yeah. What was that thing? It wasn't made of thingness, it was vibrations, some kind of quantum mechanical view of existence that, in fact, impermanence just sounds too grand, too solid. An inconstant flow of vibrations. So this is really profoundly useful. The anicca understanding, the inconstancy, and the present moment's the only moment. And those will be very familiar for anyone who has any experience of hearing these teachings and practicing them. Interestingly, they often feel intuitive. They feel like an upgrade, like the scales have fallen from my eyes. Now I see. Now I see. It is all inconstant. It is impossible to say that the future exists or the past exists. They're just images in the mind that occur in the present moment. But I'd like us to take a slightly different stance here. Let's say that they're useful views. They're skillful. And I'm going to say, but they're also limited. You don't have to agree with that. But let's just say that we adopt them and they're skillful. The more important insight is that when we look that way, they change our sense of things. They change our sense of things. When we look for inconstancy, we find it. And what I want us to remember is the looking matters. Because when you don't look for inconstancy, things then become rigid, become solid, become graspable, perhaps. Now, at certain times, we want things to be like that. We want the things that we're passionate about. We want the things that are meaningful for us to have that reality so that we can work towards them. We can go towards them. Yeah. So it's a skillful lens to adopt at times. So they're not truly true, which is actually even more profound. It's actually more profound. It opens up beauty, mystery. And we could actually pick apart those views analytically, which I could do. And it could also be really useful. But let's actually try a different way of looking at them. If you do want a more thorough analysis of the emptiness of time, whichever way we look at it, I've actually got an article on dependentorigination.org. It's there /empty time, but it's also there in the drop down. If you choose emptiness from the drop down menu on a web browser, you'll see that. And you can choose emptiness of space and time. So if you want to go there. The key insight for us, though, is that time pressure increases with dukkha. Right? It's part of what feels heavy about stress and distress. It's part of what frees, lifts, lightens when dukkha fades. And we can also see this if we adopt a sense that there is a past, there is a future, and there's actually a vaster space of time in which this moment is happening. It's just a small moment. That's like that reflection of, I'm just a small being on a huge planet in vast space, and I'm making a big deal about this thing. Making a big deal about this spilt milk. Yeah. Actually, it doesn't matter in the bigger scheme of things. You can also see it with a vaster space of awareness, more space for more things to be. I don't need to be so reactive. There's more room. And so we can also see that in the bigger space of time. We always have a time story at play. We are time travelers. Yeah. And you can compare a sense of what it's like when we really dive into presentism. Yeah, and we talked about that. But we could also talk about what's it like when we step into eternalism, that all of time is present already. Yeah, all of time is with us. All the time exists, and it's meaningful. Right. So the shortcomings of presentism is how it dismisses our past and our future. Present means nothing, yeah? Without a past and a future to define it. Right? It's not them. Yeah. And no movement, not even light, can be without a past and a future. It's that the vibration has to go up or down between moments. So we need more moments anyway. We're adding them in anyway. But the beauty of eternalism is that all the time exists and it's meaningful. And our life is meaningful. Our past is meaningful for us. Yeah. So we might step into presentism occasionally and say, yeah, this is what's helpful. But then we come back and we say, yes, that was helpful because now my future is better. We're actually willing oftentimes to suffer now, or make an effort now, or give something up now for a future relief. Or we might be using this moment to work on a healing of a past pain. Future and past, they matter. They matter. So we want to also have that view, and that view can be really helpful, and it can also liberate dukkha. But interestingly, those two views contradict each other. Radically. When we take one view, the other view just can't exist, right? But we can play. We can play with those. So the understanding is a certain time sense builds experience, and a certain attitude builds in time. We need that time. So the view for today is this moment, this one, is actually a moment in a vast unfolding. It's like one frame of a movie in endless time. This experience, it's not the totality of this life. It's just a part. I've met moments like this before. I recall that. I know that. I can be with this a little bit more. I can grow. I can build. I'm not alone. And this moment is not alone. Yeah, it's really just an infinitesimal, small part of something vast. Yeah, so it's a vastness view. And in that, what's actually expanding? Could it be love? Could it be tolerance? Could it be understanding? So again, remember your intentions. What are you here for? What are you here to support? There's no rush. This is actually slow motion, time unfolding. We will default back to some sense, like where time feels more built up, and we can be faded down again, opened out again. And the interesting thing there in relationship to empty time is, what does that say about real time, or the reality of any moment of time? Is that we play a part in making time. Yeah. And so let's take this moment in vast, infinite time that stretches way, way, way into the past, stretches way, way, way into the future. It's the moment of our life. It matters, but it's not alone. Let's see what happens as we explore this view and how that can support us to hasten slowly into presence, into releasing dukkha, stress, distress. So I invite you to choose a posture that feels helpful for you. Feels well aligned to your intentions. What is it you really want to support? And just breathing with that, listening with that. At this point, this meditation is stretching out ahead of us in time, or behind us in time, wherever you feel future to be. And we're here contributing like a chef or an artist, preparing, settling our dust, as the Taoists say, softening our glare, settling back into body, heart, mind, togetherness. There's no rush. Plenty of time to get to know, but no better time than now to bring our patience, our tolerance, our sensitivity, and our wider sensibility into life. And for that wider sensibility, if you're with the body, how about having the whole body in heart and mind, and a bit of space around it? So that's a bit of space behind the body, beneath, above, in front, and to the sides. And that awareness also extends within the body, oftentimes quite deep within, particularly around the lower part of the belly. You may notice it can go in and in and in, much deeper than we at first thought. If we're with the wider sounds, how wide? What about the most distant sounds? And also the most near sounds, the sounds of this body. And also seeing how the awareness penetrates every sound. It's within the sounds as well. And if it's helpful, we can take that pacing of 3 breaths, really present, wide awareness, sensitive. And then we could take around 3 breaths, just resting. We move into our view and then we rest in it. Cultivate that view, 3 breaths, and rest in it. I'll leave you to explore that for a little bit in silence, and I'll pop back in. Coming close to this moment. How is it? How does this moment contribute to your experience of your whole life? This is your life. Witnessing where you tend to pay attention, how you tend to pay attention, meaning in what way and to what. And what do you want to contribute? What habit do you want to invest in? Would it be more kindness, more patience? Remembering that intention. You can pay attention to what's present here, the breath rolling through, the sounds pouring by. We play a part. It's true that this practice can be delightful in the present experience of becoming more present. And that would be reason enough. But it also contributes to future well-being for us, to be more steady, to be more wise, to be more compassionate. Over time. So this moment is good now, but it's also an investment in having these skills more available. So let's dive in. Let's make the most. You can use the 3 breaths to allow us to get more close. And you can also just go with what flows and opens for you. Mind creates stories, and with that it creates a time story, also creates a self story. What was that one? When you feel into yourself here practicing, what's it like when we emphasize in the mind, in the imagination, I'm always in community. There's a vast network supporting me, backing me, loving me for what I'm willing to do, loving me regardless, radiating that goodwill. Whenever we come to practice, sitting, lying, walking, in other activities with dedication to cultivating practice, we step into a wide stream full as that stream is full of drops of water, of beings practicing now. We contribute, never alone. We're supported and we're supporting. And we're also supported by the efforts we made yesterday and the day before and the day before that, stretching back all the way to our birth. We're gifted this moment by all of those past efforts, and we gift them forwards. We're doing what feels right now, for tomorrow, for the next day, day after that, onwards through our life, and also through this wider network of beings. We stretch even further back, past, on, future. These teachings we're practicing have been around for 26 centuries, hundreds of generations, all coming together, flowing through this being who is not a singular entity, but a drop in something vast. Let's meet our experience in that sensibility. Breathing in, breathing out kindness, listening to vibrations, in peace, for peace. You notice any unhelpful tightness building up. Invited to soften, invite to soften. You need to lean back a little, lean forwards, make any adjustments. And equally to that, we can make adjustments in our sensibility. We're receiving a gift from past us. A past version of us has dedicated themselves so that we too can pay more attention. See ourselves as a being who receives from another being who was us, was in this body, was in this heart-mind, but is now gone. And we can also see that what we do now is a contribution to a future version of us. Maybe it's us, maybe it's a new being. Either way, we contribute into the future. We receive from the past. And that past is always, always receiving. And into that future, it's always giving wider and wider. Just as now we're a part of an interconnected web of life on Earth. We can recall that. Inseparable. In this moment, across space. And also over this moment, in time. Inseparable. So much support coming our way. So much support coming through us when we align with our deepest, wholesome, skillful intentions to meet life with beauty and generosity. Just coming into the last moments of our meditation, feeling the flow of time with that flow of sensations. Just checking that your posture, if it's one of stillness, is stillness flowing. It's not tight, it's not held back. We're in that flow, giving and receiving, in breath and out breath, arising and passing, receiving from the past and giving to the future the intentions we wish to see in the world, in our life, in our relationships. May our practice together be for the welfare and benefit of all beings, everywhere, in every time it's possible for us to contribute to. In your own time, in your own way, we'll begin transitioning from this period of practice into a time where if you have a question, a reflection you'd like to bring in, you're very welcome to do that. And not in any way to cut off such a question at the head. I just want to clarify again. I'm not saying that this is the view we should have and presentism is limited and whatever. I think every view is limited. And I think that that's what it means to have the right view about things, to understand that there are different ways of looking about space and time. There's different ways of regarding ourself, our individuality, our community, and at different times, one of them is going to be really appropriate. Yeah. The question of what's useful, what's appropriate, what's skillful, yeah, even if it's limited, even if it's not really true, really opens out those possibilities. Because if we become only a truth seeker, the truth is different views matter. That's the bigger truth. Different ways of looking matter. So these teachings exist very pragmatically. And the Buddha would say a number of times, I don't teach the way things are, I teach dukkha, the liberation of dukkha. So people come to the Buddha and say, well, does the self exist or not exist? What happens to us after we die? These kinds of questions. He's like, I don't answer those questions. I answer the question of, is there stress in your existence? And if there is, what can we understand about it? How can we free it? How can we liberate it? Right? I came to these teachings seeking truth. I admit it. Yeah, I wanted to know, what's reality really? And what we get to understand about reality is a perception. Reality is a perception, and perceptions are shaped. So what does it shape? To think about infinite time. What does it shape? To think about there's only a sliver of a present moment. The past is gone, the future's not here. Radically different views, kind of opposing views. I like to call them complementary views, but I don't know if they could go out for dinner together, It's challenging. It's challenging. And we'll find ourselves flitting around with views. Another way that this comes up for us is, these sessions offered on dana, and we can think, will there be enough? Or I can't give enough, or someone else will do it, and these are actually stories we tell ourselves. In a way, we could look at it and think about it in that thing. It's like, we're only here because other people participated, contributed. We're only here because the Sangha Live team, who may not even be the team that are working now, over time have have pushed energy into this, pushed effort into this, pushed finances into this. And we're here and we receive that. And so we're always participating because we're receiving and we're giving. Whatever we give, if we give our presence here in the sessions, if we give an enormous donation that almost breaks the bank, you know, we can't define who's making the bigger contribution. Yeah. But we want to. So, oh, am I good enough? Am I not good enough? Measure ourselves up in that way. It's not up to you. It's not up to you. Every little counts. Definitely. All the ways we show up, whether you go out and you sing about how great this is to everyone and bring in more beings to be more touched by these liberating teachings, or if you can give donations, and that's really helpful to be able to support the platform. If nobody gives, it will collapse after a while, you know, but it's not up to you. Not up to you alone. We're in this together. We're in this together and really moving forwards. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting Sangha Live in this way. Thank you. I will receive a portion of any donations that come in until Friday. After that, it just gets spread out for other beings. The website that I mentioned earlier has been put in the chat, and I'll ask for it to be put into the recordings page so that people can see it. But it's dependentorigination.org/empty time, all one word. And there's a few reflections coming through, and definitely this is something that we're going to touch into more and more. But there's interesting things to actually say, maybe just before going into those reflections, and they may actually relate. But our idea around time is also cultural. And that's quite an important thing to notice. And it's something that I want to stretch into a bit more tomorrow. For example, where is the past for you? Yeah, in like imaginal space. Yeah. Oh, just put it behind you. Put it behind you. Is the past behind us? Is that where it is? It's behind us. It's interesting, yeah? And where's the future? Do we move forward into it? Yeah? Got to get into the future over there. It's ahead of us. You know, you got to get ahead. And for some, it's the inverse. You know, the Maori peoples, they walk backwards into the future with the past present for them. Yeah? Keeping that in mind. Keeping that in mind. And there's something interesting to consider. That's also something we can play with. And maybe it really matters. Maybe it actually says something about what we value. Have we turned our back on the past? Is it all about progress and not about tradition? Yeah, is it all about forget about that, put it behind you, and don't reflect on it? Yeah, just keep going, progress at all costs. Interesting if that's true for our society. Interesting if that's something we want to change in our lives. Maybe we can take on that view, like the Maori, walk backwards into the future with the past really honored, really respected, really present. Oh, someone's asking for a Dana link. So you can get it at the connect.sangha.live. Maybe someone can put it into the chat for us. It used to be on the page here, and now we don't have it that way. But it's I think it's support, sangha.live/support. Do I have it somewhere here for you? Maybe someone's already pasted it. Let's have a look. Yes, they have. Thank you. Okay, donate. So Joss is sharing a reflection here. A beautiful teaching and practice, so wonderful to feel part of. Oh, it's jumped. To feel part of and held in the midst of all beings in the Dharma. Such generosity from and for our ancestors. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Good for us, you know, good to honor them. You know, the Buddha would say about, you know, generosity, if we do it, reflect on the intention, reflect on the actions, and then call it to mind later. It's good for us to feel the generosity that we give, generosity that we receive. And from Penny, this teaching and practice has been very helpful to help me acknowledge the courage involved in being present, even if there's no immediate benefit. Thank you. Yeah, I love that. I also love that sense is that when I come to practice, it's not about me. Oh, I don't feel like it. Well, that doesn't matter, Nathan. It doesn't matter. Maybe you could support someone else in your practice. And maybe you showing up is going to be good for someone else. And it's like, okay, now I feel like it. And now I want to do it. And Tim, I had a vivid image of trying to settle and still the bubble of a spirit level, tilting past and future and other elements of here and now. Thanks, Nathan. And saying, yeah, lovely, lovely. You know, we can really emphasize being here and now, and then in a way, this view actually says it doesn't really it doesn't matter so much about being here and now. There's not so much pressure into this moment. And there can be, yeah, and there can be. It's like it's for the future, it's for the past, and they're blurring, they're merging, they're coming close. If we actually go highly obsessively into the present experience, I'm not saying this is what you do, Tim, not at all. It's interesting that causes such a lot of agitation, such a lot of disturbance. It can really, you know, it can be too much. It can be too much. Can be really helpful, can be really liberating for some people. So Jackie has a reflection. I worked on time with Rob Babea at Gaia House, and he encouraged me to experiment with walking meditation to explore slowing down enough to find the present moment. Experientially very powerful. Wonderful to be reminded of this approach. Thank you, Nathan. Yeah, thank you, Jackie. Lovely to have you here and sharing that bit of your practice and bringing the presence of Rob Babea here as well, who's been a very significant teacher for me. So there's also an interesting, you know, I see it kind of coming up in all kinds of places. There's a wonderful guitarist I really like called Wayne Krantz. Wayne, you'll be able to spell yourself, but Krantz is Krantz. He's American. And did I miss an N? Maybe Krantz. Yeah, Krantz. And he was playing with a band called Steely Dan for a while, and he's a jazzer. So he was used to kind of that laid back. You know, you come in a little bit late to the note, and it gives that lovely relaxed laid back scene. He also knew how to kind of play ahead of the beat and kind of experimented with that. And he would practice a lot with his metronome and get to know those different feels. And Steely Dan were like, yeah, but can you just play on the beat? He's like, I am playing on the beat. And they're like, no, the beat, the heart of the beat actually has a heart of that heart. There's a center of that beat in the present moment as it happened. And they opened up a whole doorway of a sensibility. There's actually a real middle to that, a real presentness within the present moment, this moment, within a moment, within a moment. And there's also a whole realm of teachings that says that moment's impossible. That moment is impossible to be. And both are true and useful. Both are true and useful. Both are worthy directions to go. A reflection from Helen. I found this so helpful. Thank you. Sorry, just jumping. I'm really happy we're getting plenty of reflections around this. I think it could be a really rich area. I found this so helpful. Thank you. I've found Pema Chodron's invitation to treat the present moment as a passing memory a helpful way to hold difficult experiences more lightly. But it felt a bit at odds with the idea of the present moment being all we have. To see the present moment as important, but existing as a vast, spacious stretch of time with our intentions threading through and linking the moments up feels very helpful. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful reflection, Helen. So it's possible, let's say, broadly speaking, it's possible to fully invest in one view or the other. And we say presentism has its limitations. Yes, it kind of devalues the past. It kind of devalues the future. And it's like, well, it's only now. So then why are we practicing? well, we're practicing for the future freedom, or we're practicing for the liberation of now, and we're, there's only now, whatever. It's kind of saying those things. And we could say another view is that, the past really matters. Don't let it go. Really live in the past, live for the past, live in the future, live for the future. And we kind of like, well, now, hang on, what's the present actually for? If it's only in service of these other things. And so we can take those different views at different times because they liberate, because they're beneficial, and take the beneficial side of them. We don't like go into them full of criticisms. Yeah. That's why I said I'm not going to do the analysis stuff today. Or there's this kind of blending of those two. I'm mostly in the past future kind of dimension of experience. So I want that expansiveness, but I also really honor that the present is this only living, dynamic, experiential part to it. Yeah. Lovely. All those beautiful, beautiful ways of bringing this together. Okay, there's a few more reflections in the chat. I encourage you to read them. I'm going to read them as well, and I'll incorporate them in what I want us to open to tomorrow, which is a little bit more thinking. It's like, well, okay, we've actually explored 4 different ways of meeting our experience. How is that going to be helpful from further liberation? How is that going to be helpful for the way that we live in the world? How can we bring those beautiful intentions we have into being through how we meet our experience, how we live our life? And I hope that you'll be there with me for this, and we'll be together, those of us who can make it. And I look forward to that. So really wish you well, and see you tomorrow.